hurricane, and coordinate those activities through both federal and state entities, agencies, locating money to help do that and assist the county and city leaderships in all things related to the recovery and also to our survivors. So we work all those aspects. Just for tonight to kick off some issues, and the rest of it's all Q&A. These are just things we want to put out to the public. Number one was due to the recent flooding today, actually about an hour ago, Governor Abbott announced that Aransas County was declared under the state disaster declaration issued by the governor for flooding. They issued a flooding statewide disaster declaration this afternoon for Aransas County, San Patricio County, Nueces County, Jim Wells County, Willacy County, and Cameron. So the areas down here. I suspect they'll add to that list as the valley gets more rain. So what that means for us is we're still under a federal disaster declaration for Harvey to get assets and resources, but if over the next few days people experience more disaster related things due to this flooding directly because there's a state declaration, we can compile that data, and if we meet the threshold, then we could declare a countywide declaration to dovetail with the state. Now, what that does is we now have access to some state resources for the flooding if we needed it. Right now, there's been no issues. We think Aransas County was included because of Aransas Pass. A lot of flooding down there. Aransas Pass obviously is in 3 counties, 3 of those 6 that were named. We have not seen much in Aransas County proper, north of Aransas Pass, that would probably get us to a threshold, but we're out there, and if the public has reports, they can make those to the emergency management.
How long of time?
I don't know how long he's declared it for. It has to be renewed every 30 days at the state level, I think. So, and then if we were to declare one, ours is renewed every 7 days and reviewed. So our Hurricane Harvey disaster, because we're still under federal and the governor continues to renew that every 30 days, we, the county, have renewed a disaster declaration every 7 days since August 25th. And so we have copies of all those. So we're still operating under the disaster 4332 at the federal, state, and the county and city levels. Those disaster declarations all remain in place. That's what allows us access to the federal and state funding and assistance that we have. So, okay. So that's the latest and greatest. Housing still #1 priority, still our biggest challenge, and specifically our workforce housing, our low to moderate income, our apartment complexes and things like that. That's why we have Shelby here from the General Land Office. She is our community outreach liaison. One of the things we wanted to make the public aware of, if they weren't, was that recently GLO awarded Aransas County $6.5 million under the multi-lease and repair disaster recovery program to start replacing some of those apartment complexes. The first 2 projects that were approved are the Oak Harbor apartments over there off Live Oak, and the Saltgrass one. So Saltgrass will be a complete rebuild. It was already torn down, and then the Oak Harbor will be a rebuild, a major rebuild. So that $6.5 million has been awarded to start those projects very soon. That'll be 98 units, and we have it on relatively good authority that another $6.5 million will most likely be approved in the next wave, and that will cover some of the complexes here and up that number to about 113 units. And those will be apartments available for rent in the low to moderate income for our workforce. So we're very pleased that that was a competitive process with 3 other counties, and so we think we did our diligence well and showed a need and got that money moving forward. So you'll see progress on that. The other thing that's most recently been out there was the state announced its state housing plan. That's now capitalizing on the community development block grant money that comes from HUD. That will be for long-term housing, mostly low to moderate income. That process has gone from HUD down to the state to the CBDG. It's being managed by the General Land Office for housing. And under that program, it covers everything in housing, but 2 of those programs are sub-receipted down to the county. Those would be for infrastructure here in the county, infrastructure repair, infrastructure mitigation, and then also for some of the what we call buyout and acquisition programs to alleviate homeowners. So the COG, the Coastal Bend Council of Governments, was tasked by GLO to come up with a method of distribution on how to equally distribute that money. And those numbers were for infrastructure, $125 million for the 6 counties affected here, including Aransas, and $34 million in buyout acquisition for the 6 counties. And then the COG's been tasked with how do you distribute that money to the 6 counties. So they're in a public hearing process. They're in a public comment process until July 9th. Yes. July 5th. I guess they didn't take the 4th of July.
What are those numbers again, Mike?
134 million for infrastructure, or no, I'm sorry, 125 million for infrastructure, and then 34 million for the buyout acquisition program, divided amongst the 6 counties. And so they've come up with a process to do that. They presented that Tuesday at the public hearing. That distribution draft is available. I think we might have brought some copies on the back table, right? So there is a sheet back there that explains what the method of distribution is, how they come up with that formula, and it also has a breakdown to who is getting what. That's the proposal. GLO will still have to approve that after the end of the public comment period. But we in Aransas County feel that based on the money available, I think we're getting the attention we need in the proper percentages. We did go back to our federal partners. We went back to the 2 U.S. Senators' offices and the U.S. Congressional office and stated that we're grateful for 125 million and 34 million for the 6 counties, but based on the calculations and the damage alone in Aransas County, that exceeds both those numbers already. So we told them to go back and talk to HUD about how they came up with those numbers, and is there room to expand those, because we know that's not gonna be enough money. So we're fighting that at the federal level too. But at the end of the day, it's what they've given us, and working with the COG and the amount of damage here, we feel like we're being equally represented so far, and that the vast majority of that money should come here to where it is needed. So the other thing is we still have a counseling initiative that's going on here every Tuesday night right here in the library from 5 to 7. We have made this very public for residents that feel like the effects of Harvey are overwhelming, or they want to talk to somebody about issues, as we provide through Rebuilding Texas Together. There are counselors that are in here every night that people can sit down and talk to them, and they can refer them to other places if they're struggling with loss of homes, loss of businesses, any effects from Harvey. We do provide that as part of our resiliency mission here for the county. So they've been here every Tuesday night, and so we just encourage those, if you know about this, to get that out to your local groups and let them know that that service is available, and will continue that way. And we want to make sure that people are getting the help they need. Since our last meeting in April, some of the things the long-term recovery team has worked on was we did approve a local economic development plan that was adopted by all the city councils in the county and through the chamber. And that is sort of a long-term plan to bring economic development back here to Aransas County, and how we're going to continue to build the community and get us back on a stable footing and things like that. So that was a series of workshops early in the year. They developed a draft plan, and that draft plan was approved for those meetings, and then went to the various governmental authorities here for approval. And so that plan has been approved and adopted at the local level, and it lists specific tasks for us to go out and work with state and federal EDA to look and see what grants and monies are available to bring things back, like restoration of Paws and Taws in Fulton, fishing piers, downtown, Rockport Center for the Arts and things like that. So we continue to work on that as part of the long-term economic development plan, and I know the chamber and some of the other folks, business entities, are looking at some other aspects of economic development that are in that plan too. And how, with our tourism-based economy, they have done a launch of a new campaign program, Find Yourself in Rockport Fulton, which was it's a new ad campaign. I think we have that out there as well. That was a pro bono gift, and also in conjunction with Rebuild Texas, the Michael and Susan Dell Foundation funded some of that. That is our ad campaign for the area down here to bring folks back. That is the one George Strait lent his voice and talent and song to. So you'll see that if you've not seen that on TV or on the radio yet. Those are running. And we know for a fact that they're on billboards outside. Like, we've seen them on the way. Amy, you saw them on the way to Galveston?
Way there and back.
And the way back. So that ad campaign is starting to spread out, and the goal is to encourage people that we are open for business down here, and we want you to come down and spend your dollars and come fishing and do the things you like to do. Put this one in here because this question always comes up. Originally it was the $1.2 million in donations that was received here for HURT long-term recovery. It's actually, by the time we finally told it out, it's 1.4 million. So that 1.4 million that we received in donations that went through the Chamber Foundation here and was held in trust with the Coastal Bend Community Foundation, that 1.4 million was designed and used specifically to help residents of Aransas County recover, either via housing repair, housing rebuilds, things to help get them back on their feet. That $1.4 million has been obligated. Hasn't all been spent yet, but we have obligated that through Case Manage, through Coastal Bend Disaster Recovery, through our local VOAD groups here, through the visitor, the Volunteer Reception Center, and those aspects. We have obligated that money to help residents. We do have some of that information available to some of the projects they have done and funded. But we kept our promise. All 1.4 million stayed in Aransas County, and it was applied directly to residents here in this county to either rebuild their home, repair their home, replace RVs, put them in modular housing units, and to help get our folks back on their feet. As more money comes in, it will be held in trust, and we'll continue to obligate that through unmet needs and through that cycle of that VOED group. So, but everyone always asks us for the 1.2 million. Where did it go? That's where it went. It has been obligated, and we can do a breakdown of that publicly if we need to, or if anyone has a question, we can show you where most of that money went. So as we get out here and we work with a lot of volunteer groups and a lot of charitable organizations, the next question always gets asked is, where did the George Strait money go? So George Strait's money went to the Rebuild Texas, which is the Michael Susan Dell Foundation, to help Texans recover. So this stat is important because this is what Rebuild Texas has done in Aransas County to date. They have contributed $257,000 to the Chamber of Commerce here, and that is for small business loans and getting small businesses back up. They have contributed $500,000 to the Rockport Center for the Arts to help them repair and replace what's short so that we can bring them back online. Hands of Hope, which is the 501c3 associated with the First Baptist Church and the Volunteer Reception Center, they have contributed $511,000 to that charitable organization to conduct demos here in Aransas County to tear down those homes that are abandoned and have to be torn down. That is volunteers and private donation money to do that without federal strings, so we can move and get those homes demoed faster and allow those folks the opportunity to try to rebuild or recoup some of that stuff. They have contributed $830,000 to the AC ISD Foundation for classroom materials and student support services. And Rebuild has also signed an agreement with Kaboom, the big giant playground manufacturer. And one of those projects is here in the town of Fulton, over there where Paws and Taws, as they go to rebuild that playground that used to be there. Kaboom has agreed to come in and build or supply all the building materials and the Kaboom play stuff to that project, and then with volunteers they will assemble a brand new playground over there for the folks in Fulton. So that's what Rebuild Texas, that's where your George Strait money has gone, and it has come back here, not, you know, amongst other places. And there are some other projects that are out there. Rebuild Texas comes through. They've spent about 1/3 of the $100 million they pledged to spend to help Texas recover. And so they meet regularly, and as projects come our way that folks need help, or there's organizations that are asking for help and we can refer them to Rebuild, we do work. They are able to submit those under preparedness grants, and then those grants get vetted through Rebuild Texas, and every couple weeks or a month that board meets and they look at all the projects and they approve those. So we continue to apply, and as more and more projects get approved for Aransas County, we will, you know, obviously come back and let people know that so your donated money is being worked. Lift Fund is another organization that provides money to business owners to help get them back on their feet. Lift has provided over $2 million in business loans for the Coastal Bend region, including Rockport and Fulton. And then our biggest success story, no offense to my federal partners, but as we wait for the federal money to continue to flow slowly at federal government pace, our volunteer groups, Mennonite Disaster Relief, Habitat for Humanity, our VOED groups that have been down here, our faith-based church groups, and everybody else that's come down here and volunteered their time, talent, donated money. We have had over 2,000 volunteers from all over the country down here in one way, shape, or form, providing assistance directly to residents and survivors, whether it's cleaning up debris, whether it's mucking and gutting homes, whether it's putting a new roof on, or whether it's tarping roofs, doing all those things that they can do here. And more come every week now that it's summer, where we've got several larger groups that are going to come in and do some projects. They're committed, our MDS and MDR groups are committed to rebuild some homes next year, full rebuilds of homes. Habitat for Humanity has money to rebuild homes. So our private-public partnership is our success story right now in getting money into the community faster, getting people back into their homes quicker, and finding relief for those folks while we still wait for the community development block grant money that we know is coming. It just doesn't move quite as fast. These private organizations like Samaritan's Purse and Habitat for Humanity, they're not bogged down with federal registry issues and Congress appropriating money. as the money comes in, they can turn it around very quickly to projects. They case manage those and work with us and work through our staff, and we identify those things, and we get that money out to the folks that need it the most as they qualify. So we're very proud of that. And one of those other projects is one that's coming up. There's a flyer here. This summer, we've been funded for a project called Camp Noah, which is summer camp for some of our local kids. They're going to run 2 summer camp sections for 50 children each. That's been funded and paid for. Is that a Rebuild Texas, Amy, or was that a?
Yes.
So Rebuild Texas, the Dell Foundation funded that. The information and the dates are on there. So my talking point for y'all is that there's 2 sessions, 50 kids in each. We have 7 spots remaining for the first session and 22 spots for the second, and we'd like to get all those filled and give those 100 kids a chance to go experience some summer camp this year and enjoy some fun to help them recover as well. So that's out there, so please get that word out. Mike, the flyers are there if you haven't grabbed them already. So on the just recovery standpoint, a couple quick stats. As of this week, 884 hotel rooms are back online out of the 1,881 inventory, so about 44.8% of our hotel capacity has returned. Good, not good enough, but as people come down, at least there are some places for them to stay now. And our small businesses and our businesses in Rockport, 81% of the businesses that were open pre-Harvey are back open again.
What was
So
the number?
81%. So 81% of the businesses have reopened. Some of the businesses that haven't reopened, those owners have started new businesses. I don't have that number, so it's kind of a wash. And we know there are some that have chosen to not reopen for various reasons, but we think this far along, the fact that 81% of our small business owners had enough faith in this community to reopen is a telling sign that things are trending in the right direction. Those are the big issues that I wanted to be able to share with the public. Obviously, the rest of the time is for y'all to ask whatever questions you want to ask, and if I can't answer it, I've got a team of experts here that will. So
Okay.
it's your time now.
I sent you an email and your staff responded right away.
Well, good.
But the question has not been addressed yet, and I know it may not be able to. I understand that.
Okay.
But we have 100 owners in our condominium association, and we're on Little Bay, and we have a canal, and we know that the debris has been removed from the ski basin. Thank you very much for that.
Wow, that's thanks to NAV District. They did it on their dime, actually. So.
And we are concerned about the channels having debris removed, because I've taken my boat out and gotten fouled already.
Yes, sir.
And is there any idea when that might happen? I know it's in the works.
It's still in the works. It's going through the legal review process. FEMA has not said no. That's the best news. There are some other aspects of that we're working on. We're very close. I don't feel comfortable enough announcing what we know right now to the public, and it's not from a transparency issue. It's because for 3 times in a row, FEMA has approved it and told me it was good to go, and we've told poor Dave over there that, and then 24 hours later, FEMA comes back and says, well, no, wait a minute, we're not sure. So we have submitted our last legal brief to the lawyers in DC at FEMA. They have reviewed it. They concur with our argument. So we're working out the final details of how that's going to happen. So it's going to happen. I just don't have a start date yet because I don't know under which program we're going to do it. The good news is, once it is approved, it will probably be a 90-10, just like it was for the land-based debris. FEMA will pay 90% of the cost to get those canals cleaned, and then the state of Texas has agreed to pay the other 10%. So I think we're very, very close. But but I don't have a signature from somebody yet, so I'm not going to commit to it 100%. But for your residents' purposes, we are closer than we have been, and the answer is still not no, which means it will get done. I just don't have a start line. I have about an estimate. We think it'll be about $10–15 million to do it. And that will include the canals in Aransas County and in the Rockport municipality, which is all in Aransas County anyway. So a lot of the debate now is a legal debate as to who owns it, who's responsible for it, and so who has to apply for it, and then what the rules are. And then once the rules are, we have to go through environmentals and historical reviews to make sure that if we pull something out of the canal, it doesn't have historical significance. Believe it or not, that's part of the bureaucratic drill. Some of that paperwork has started. So we've initiated the paperwork to move things forward, but I don't have start dates yet, and I don't have a final who's doing it Is it gonna be contracted? Is it gonna be the state? Is it gonna be the feds? Who's gonna come in and do it? So we're working out the final details, but the good news is, we made an argument and FEMA did not say no. It's about as safe as I wanna be right here, so.
I know this could be speculation, but if it takes a few weeks, a few months, up to a year, how long would it take to actually finish?
Well, so I can only use the calculations that I know. We moved 3.6 million cubic yards of debris from the land in 6-7 months.
6-7 months.
Significantly less in the water. So, went from the start to finish, I'd say certainly half that time.
Okay.
But it also depends, wet debris is a little bit more challenging, because you have to have the right equipment. There are some areas that are protected with seagrass beds where you can't go in there and yank it out by machine. We're gonna have to physically send bodies in there. And then the other challenge is, unlike with the land-based debris where we could pull it out and stage it, along the bypass or the transfer station, is the rule for wet debris is, once we pull it out of the water, it has to go directly to the landfill at Gullyhurst. So it adds a cycle time. So that slows the process down. I can't pull it out and dump it and hold it, which is how we were able to speed up 3.6 million. It has to be loaded on a truck, and that truck has to make the 45, 50-mile round trip to Gullyhurst and back. So debris removal, just for, if anyone asks, for all your engineers that live in your HOA, debris removal is based on cycle time. 3.6 million we could move locally because we had local dumping spots. Our cycle time was like 13 miles. It's now 50 or 60. So add the math. It will slow down what the trucks can carry, but the rules are wet debris cannot touch the ground. It has to come out of the water onto the truck and go straight there. So, but I still don't think it's gonna take that long.
I would say 60 to 90 days.
60 to 90 days is,
go.
okay, it's about a fair estimate, so, from the time we hit go, so.
The Key Allegro Marina, I know this is a navigational district concern, but what do you know about that getting either sold, put back together, anything?
Nothing has come across that I'm aware of. I've talked to Keith.
We would have to take that question down and follow.
Yeah, we can take that to Keith, to the harbor master, and to the port commissioners over there, or the navigation district commissioners, and that would be certainly in there. That's all in their ball court, so. But I personally haven't heard any rumors on anything, so.
Yeah, I've spoken to one of the owners, but it vacillates. In Mike's paper, I saw reference to a new marina, I guess where the Suzuki boat rental place is.
South of the Rockport Marina there.
It's the same one that was there,
It's
when
just
you're going over the Harbor Oaks Bridge.
Yes.
It's the same way, just a new design, and then they have to get, there's still a settlement from the old guy that AC needs been a lot, that's
a nav district, and they're working on, I mean, from my understanding, we took a tour of the nav district not too long ago. They're working on that, and they're gonna try to expand that and upgrade it.
slips.
And I think, didn't we go out and ask for some EDA money to help them with the docks and lighting and fuel?
We have to apply for a Tiger grant.
So we're gonna apply for a Tiger grant, which is outside of the FEMA. That's a regular federal transportation grant. That's the route we're gonna, so the nav district is gonna apply for that Tiger grant, try to get that money, so when they do build it, it'll be a more upgraded facility. Those T-piers and piers will be bigger to hold the bigger boats that they make now. We're also trying to get fueling and lighting and all the hotel services, so to service some of our bigger, deep sea fishing boats, so we can maybe bring in that tourist crowd, so we have the inshore and the outshore. So that is a grant request that's in the works, but
We're
the
also
nav
gonna
district.
add seaplanes to that,
Well, there you go.
so that we can broaden our economic field.
Well, that's cool.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was a big reason, I moved down here, and I know other people feel the
Sure.
same. They like to have these facilities on the water.
Mhm.
And I know we have a lot of boats around here that survive.
Yep.
Nothing at $5 million would fix.
So we're in the process, so we will go out for a grant. We're just not gonna do it through Harvey, we'll do it through the regular Tiger grant process, which is what we've been advised is the best way to do that. And I think
Okay.
the applicant will be the nav district
Or the county.
or the county. So we'll work that between the nav district and the county. But we wanna see that too, because there are some other economic development opportunities potentially tied to us getting that done, which could enhance some of the facilities down here, and also enhance some of the economic development in the tens of millions of dollars by attracting some other interested parties, but we have to get it done. So.
Sure.
That was part of the plan that Kim helped develop.
Yep.
Okay.
Keep going, you're doing great.
Well, I could be greedy and just ask about my own area, but, what else, would be of benefit to a resident in, Rockport?
Well, depending on what their need is, if it's individual needs for housing and things like that, we still are working some of those issues through our local VRC and through the VOADs, but we're also, as the community development block grant money comes down, we've talked to some developers who are interested in building some new housing down here that will also incorporate low to moderate income. That's where that infrastructure money becomes available, as we have some plats in the county and in the cities that are empty and vacant, that are on the rolls, but do not provide a taxable base for us. If we can get those built and developed, that puts them on the tax roll, which helps us increase the income to the county and to the city, and also puts people back in homes. So we're working some of those developer initiatives in some of those areas as well. And we use some of that community development block grant money to do a couple things. One would be to incentivize and run utilities and run those things to those areas if we need them, but we also use a lot of that money to for a lot of our hazard mitigation projects that we've submitted to help us recover. Well, we got about $95 million in hazard mitigation projects that we are in the process of submitting to FEMA. That's a 75-25. So FEMA will pay 75%, county or the city or whichever municipality has to pay the 25%. So a lot of that CDBG money that comes out of infrastructure, we can use that as our match to those projects, so that it doesn't actually have to come out of the county and come out of taxable money and things like that. So it's a big kabuki dance of who's got the money and how we use it to get our biggest bang for our buck. And so this team here spends a lot of their days just figuring out how we match up money with needs. And if that money's short, where else can we go, for lack of a better word, scrounge that money to fulfill those projects. And so one of the keys is the fact that we've done this under a multi-jurisdictional approach. We still operate under the emergency management umbrella for these. So the county and all the cities operate as one entity. So when we submit projects for hazard mitigation or some of these projects, they are vetted by all leadership and they're prioritized based on the need of the community as a whole. So it's not Rockport and Fulton fighting for resources in the county. We sit down, we hash that out together, and we prioritize those projects based on that for what we think is the biggest doable buck for the community as a whole. And I think that's, if you look at other communities, they don't do that. And we think that's one of the reasons why we've had more success in a lot of those communities, is we have two things. We have people that do this is all we do every day. I don't have another job. No member of my staff has another job. All we do is long-term recovery. We're not being the dog catcher at the same time, or the chief of police. So we're not wearing multiple hats. And also the fact that we can operate as one entity, and it includes the NAV district and the school district too, I want to be remiss. But because we've done that and leadership has bought off on that plan, we have the force of consolidation. So when we go and plead our case to the governors or to the feds, it's with a one voice concept. There's no undercutting here, and we think that's been very successful for us. They listen when the fact that the governor's been down here 8 times and has asked us to come up and visit his staff multiple times. In fact, I think in the next week and a half, they haven't firmed up the date yet, that the governor has specifically asked for the judge and the mayors here and some in Port A to specifically come up and talk to him privately about what they still need, so he can go get those resources from DC. So they listen to what we're doing down here, and I think it's because they see that we have success and they see that we speak with one consolidated voice, so that when we go and make an argument, it's a well-versed, I mean, it's like being a lawyer. You got to make the right argument. So when we go make an argument, our argument is based with facts that are easily identifiable. The dollar amounts we ask for are based on real assessments of damage with the right math in there. So when we ask for it, there's the figures to back it up. We're not just asking for $500 million because we think that's what we need. We need $460 million, and here's why. Here's the spreadsheet that shows everything we can do with that. So they do take us. So I think in my former life as a congressional staffer, the teams that can come up there and make a good argument are the ones that get listened to, as opposed to the ones that just come up there and whine. So I think that's one of our successes, and we're going to continue to operate that way as well. So because the leadership has decided that's how they want to do it.
I could ramble on, but I'll defer to Mike.
Oh, no.
Off the record or on the record?
No, it's kind of weird. I usually don't do this, but that's one thing that people don't understand. Everybody's individual, but the stuff that's going on behind the scenes that people don't see, but you're gonna see the fruits down the line. It's what these guys do, gals, and we're not paying for them. And if you I look at some of the other papers, like Aransas Pass, and they said, yeah, they hired a consultant to go after some of these funds. They've been doing this since day one almost. We're way ahead of the game. very, very blessed.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. So, and like I said, it is of no taxpayer dollar to anybody here. So our salaries come from other sources.
But I do have 2 questions that are on the record.
Go for it.
One of them was,
This is a
on
public
the-
forum, man. I'm
No,
good
when
with
you
it.
were talking about the money from the, Rebuild
Oh.
Texas, and you had the 257 to the chamber.
Yep.
But that does not include the 250 they just gave for the campaign. Is that
No,
correct?
is
So
that,
that's
or 257, does that include the campaign, or was that
That would
just for the
be
business?
only
I thought it
7,000
was
for loans,
same.
which,
Right, yeah. 2 different ones, I think.
yeah, I don't think, cause they gave more than 7,000 for loans.
Mhm.
And then the volunteer deal, you said 2,000 volunteers in total that have been through here?
Over 2,000.
Yeah, that's
Well,
right.
Over the
it's
summer,
actually
it'll be
two-
2,000 during the summer, over 2,000 coming between our VRC and our Coastal Bend Disaster Recovery Group. This week alone, there'll be over 500 coming in.
Do you have any number of, just a rough estimate of how many since like almost day? Well, I know it first started out over here at the church, and then it transferred all the volunteer stuff over to the First Baptist Church in the Hands of Hope. But is there any kind of like a 10,000 figure or something like that? I mean, there's
Of volunteers, I mean, if
mind-boggling
you
the
put
number of
between
people that have come
Samaritans
here.
First and everything together,
Yeah.
I mean, just to the end of this year, there was well over.
And I'll be honest with you, this is not for the paper, it's for my book.
Yeah, no, there's been, I mean, there's probably over 300,000 hours in for volunteers, just within
And
one
I get
group,
with
there
you
was
more.
60,000. But, I mean, yeah, we're well close.
I don't think we have a
Since
body
the
count.
beginning,
Yeah.
it could be well over 5,000, cause when Tatum had came in, or Teets, they came in and helped us put in hours and volunteers, there was over 2,500 in just that
Yeah.
alone.
Does that include just the people that just showed up on a weekend and just, or they?
That's what I'm
they
saying, it's
never even
well over
registered
10,000
anything?
from all over, I
Just
mean, from Canada,
whatever.
every state, I don't think there's one state that someone has not come and helped us. And
I
donations
go
even
to
from
towns all over
overseas.
the South Texas, and have been surprised at how many will say, oh, I got my crew, and we all just went over for the weekend, and I'm like, I
On the
wonder, you know,
yeah.
the kind of people probably you don't know about,
That's right.
you know.
Between like the volunteer sign-in sheets that we have, I mean, there's just stacks and stacks between the VRC, between ones that check in with Samaritan's Purse or All Hands and Hearts, others that have their own thing going with case management.
Oh, yeah, you've had dinner with the Amish, you know what it's like, so.
Isn't that awesome?
You know what? They eat well.
Yes, very well.
So that's another thing, so
Sing
when,
beautifully.
CARE is our Amish group, and their base camp is up in Lamar, and then they'll be back here in the fall. When they come back, they're back here building homes and doing things like that, but it's normally Thursdays, right, Amy?
Normally Thursday.
Normally a Thursday night, they do a community sharing dinner, which is open to the public, where you can go and spend the evening with them, have a meal with them, talk about what they're doing, get a chance to know them, and they provide some pretty good entertainment, and I think, well, like, we've been out there like, I don't know, 6, 7 times, the food is
Sad, I
always
gotta
good.
wait till September, October to
Yeah,
have that.
and then
great
Mike and Diane went out last Thursday, and so it's good, but it's a good chit. I mean, they love coming here. They were CARE was one of the groups that was a little skeptical about how they would be received down here, because they're from Pennsylvania and they're Amish, obviously they're, you know, different from us. But they were so overwhelmed by the reception they had down here and how well they were treated that they'd already made the commitment to come back. And the community dinners that we have gone to have been well attended. Some of the community leaders have gone to those dinners and get a chance to talk to those folks from Pennsylvania. They are some of the most talented builders I've ever come across. Their stories are phenomenal. They're like generations of families of like windows installers and roofers, and I mean, that's what they do. And then they leave during the winter months when their farms are dormant and come down here where it's warm and they build, and then they go back home and farm. They do that on their own dime with their own money, and off they do.
Even the women, just the few that came.
Yeah, if
know,
you notice the front of the
here,
library,
That was their,
yes,
that
and
project was done by the Amish women here last week.
Awesome.
Probably in 10 minutes.
And did the Little Bay, did you notice them when they were walking down to clean Little Bay a couple of weeks ago?
I did.
Yep.
That was our
That's
Amish
the
care group.
Amish care group, so, like I said, so I would encourage you to tell your folks that if they ever have an opportunity to go to one of those community dinners, it's worth the time, it's a lot of fun, the food is phenomenal.
And all you see is smiles, never
Yes,
a
sir.
sign,
That's right.
never an anger. They were excited to go clean that up.
Gotta
They were
sing
like,
to eat,
"Yes."
though.
Gotta sing to eat, that's right, you
They're
gotta
by
sing
the
for your
water.
supper.
I mean, they were super excited. I was like, this is like work fun. So,
But yeah.
amazing.
Shocking thing was the women jumping over the table so much.
Oh, yeah. they're
You
good
should see them
folks.
on the roofs.
Yeah, so they're good folks, so. Well, what other questions y'all
I have a
have?
follow-up question.
Yeah, sure.
The debris removal is one concept, but what about dredging where, boat traffic is supposed to go? Is that?
Dredging does not
That's not covered under
qualify.
this?
No, it's a tough one because you can't prove whether it was storm related or whether it was just normal silt fill in through years of weather. So that would have to be done. I think William's got to follow up on that one, but generally I think the NAV district has to do that, but.
Yeah, his answer's correct, but, related to that, we do have several hazard mitigation projects we're gonna be, entering, and, which will involve the cleanup of Little Bay and other places that have silted in and have become stormwater problems, and threaten access roads and things like this, so, we are taking that into account. It won't be in canals per se, but it will be in other spots where it chokes off the stormwater flow and impedes the system. It causes damage and other risk to these critical access points and cuts neighborhoods off and things like this.
So we may get some dredging and silting, desilting, but we're gonna cover it under a different program, hazard mitigation for roads and under the Restore Act as well. I think we're gonna partner with the BP money and the coastal resiliency groups that are already here to do some of that as well.
We have multiple options there.
So, yeah.
Good.
Yeah, we leave no stone unturned. Well, if there's money out there, I guarantee you, these guys will find it. And so far, our batting average would put us in the Hall of Fame in Cooperstown. It's a pretty high batting average right now, so I like using baseball analogies.
Well,
So, what else you got?
that's it.
Ah, that's easy.
I mean.
You're a resident tonight.
Yeah, answered all my questions. I really like hearing these numbers of where all this money's gone, because, you know, again, I'm probably just like Mike, I get so frustrated at listening to people talk about how slow everything's going, and they don't know what slow is. If they had dealt with Hurricane Ike, they would have known how slow was. We're already probably a year ahead of what they were, so
Yeah.
it's really good to hear all this.
Yeah, the best advice I can give anybody is that those are things that we can't control. I can't control how fast the money goes. I can't control how much the money comes, so I've just stopped worrying about it. And we just, our plan is to make do with what we get, but then go fight for every dollar and make those justifications and make good arguments. But at the end of the day, it's not me that says when the money goes in the bank account. Now, if it's federal money being held up by OMB, like to repay some of our public assistance, now we have a method for that. We have 2 senators on speed dial. One of them's a very senior majority whip. We do not hesitate to call them when we know OMB's holding up, and we just say, hey, can you go shake OMB's tree a little bit? We've asked them to do that on behalf of not just us, but for the state of Texas too. That's just kind of working the system. We don't mind, putting a little pressure on, being a former Navy guy, I like the laws of thermodynamics. Heat on you is heat off of me, so I'll do heat transfer all day. Making you hurt doesn't make me hurt, so if it's turning the screws on them to get something done, I'm happy to do that, because then I can come back and tell you that we're doing everything we can, and now you can go blame him. But so far, I mean, we are very cognizant, and we meet with our auditor folks for the counties and the cities as they submit their PA worksheets for reimbursement. If we think they're coming slow, or they say, hey, we've been told this has been cleared, but we haven't seen the money yet, we'll pick up the phone and go, hey, where's the money? And the answer is usually OMB, and we're like, all right, Senator, why don't you go, do a little congressional inquiry to OMB and say, hey, where's Aransas County money?
How is the funds, especially the debris removal, I know that's the biggie right now. Is it moving back to you quick?
Not quick enough.
I know,
But I think we've gotten most of the debris removal money fine. I think that's the only money we've seen so far. But
Most of the debris money is in, not all of it.
Not all of it.
And then the PA money is slowly trickling in.
yeah.
And
It's not, the debris money is not coming out.
right, and
some
we're
of our
so
surrounding-
and what we do is when we try to complain about the money, is we try to figure out where it's being held up. I mean, it's real easy to say,
Sure.
well,
We track
FEMA's
it.
not paying it, but 9 times out of 10, it's actually not FEMA. It's
Oh,
OMB. It's
no.
OMB.
Yeah.
So one of the things about having former congressional staffers is we kind of know how the system works. So we're very fair with our partners. That doesn't mean that if we don't think they're responsive, we won't go challenge them, but we also know that they have constraints too. And part of one of our charges in long-term recovery is we're trying to identify those federal constraints through the Stafford Act, or those constraints that are in the Federal Register, and identify those to our lawmakers at the state and federal level and go, you know what? This would be a lot easier to do if maybe you change this.
Right.
And so one of our challenges and one of the things we've been tasked to do is actually provide input to our state legislators and also to our congressmen and our senators on, hey, there's some issues, there's some sections of the Stafford Act that probably need to be looked at and things like that. And I know everyone does that, but we're actually trying to codify that, and we will submit not only here's what needs to be changed, but here's probably the verbiage you might want to use. Recommend you write a bill this way. So whether it'll go anywhere or not, that falls under something I don't control, but
Squeaky wheels.
our diligence is we're happy to present that, and so far with the elected officials we've talked to, they encourage us to do that. We know that Senator Colcourse, who represents us here, has been asked to carry one of the hurricane bills in the next ledge session, and we're working with her staff to see what some of those things should be in there. She's been very receptive. Some of our transportation issues with Representative Morrison's and on Transportation Committee, we reach out to them. The judges and the mayors have testified before, what, 8, 9 committees so far?
More than that.
More than that, I've lost
You need to
count.
count them up.
And including federal committees. And so, and like I said, and they keep being asked to return to testify because, one, we suffered the most damage, but two, I think we provide very good testimony that's fact-based with numbers and gives those county affairs chairmen and appropriations and things some, not just, oh, woe is us, we need money, but here's how much we need and here's what we need it for. Now go get it. So.
You were at the public hearing yesterday morning, here in Rockport.
On Tuesday? Tuesday.
Tuesday, yeah.
Okay, what day is
That was-
today?
2 days ago, wasn't it?
It's all the
Okay,
same to me.
It's rained since then.
That's all right, it's all the same to me.
I know that one of the audience stood up and was very vocal about the housing and how slowly it was moving and how, why are we trying to reinvent the wheel when the wheel's there? Well, that is what is happening here though. We are reinventing the wheel. And it is, and the GLO's been charged with a task that they've never had to do before this year. And I think everything from what we see is moving along very quickly, and it's being faster than, goodness, a year, like I said, a year faster than Hurricane Ike was, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's faster, and I will not pretend to speak for GLO. If Shelby wants to come up here and address it, I'll give her the forum, but she don't feel obligated. We love Shelby, we won't throw Shelby under the bus. But to be honest, it's moving quick, relatively speaking, but it can move quicker.
Sure.
And that's our argument, is you can do it better, you can do it faster, and you can do it more efficient. But once again, it's not the agency per se, I think it's the rules and regulations that constrain them. And
The back and forth.
so I was taught as a young naval officer, the first rule, if I'm gonna go complain to my boss about something, I better have a solution to fix it. So our rule has been, we won't complain unless we offer you an idea. Whether you wanna take it or not, it's up to you. But, and Shelby will tell you that we speak to her senior leadership often about, hey, have you thought about this? Hey, have you thought about that? I know Pete Phillips probably gets tired of seeing Judge Mills' number come up on his phone, but I'll give him credit. He does call back.
He does.
And he does give us an answer, and we have had some very good conversations. And like I said, we'll continue to partner with these folks. GLO has never had this mission before. This is sort of unique. FEMA has ceded that to a state. That was what the governor wanted, and he tasked the GLO to go do that. So from our prospect, we're gonna work with anybody, but we're not gonna be shy. We represent Aransas County and the people here, and if we don't think we're getting what we need, we're gonna tell you. But we're also gonna offer you a recommended solution, which would really be just give us the money and let us do it. But anyway, that's just us.
Are there workshops on dealing with TWIA that happen around here?
There have been some.
we-
I don't know if they're dealing with TWIA or if they were just TWIA workshops.
They
so.
were TWIA workshops to try to untangle individual cases.
Okay.
They were
We-
orchestrated by TWIA, or?
Yes.
Yes, so,
But,
yeah. So you
one
might
of
get
the
what you pay
things
for.
that's gonna happen in the next legislative session is a TWIA bill.
Yeah.
And we are involved in those discussions, heavily.
You know, we've attended those, or we've had our representatives
Sure.
here, but it's not satisfactory.
Well, it's hosted by TWIA, so they have their own interests at heart. I mean, fair's fair, but there has been nobody outside has come in and tried to have an idea how to manipulate the system. That's not the right way to say it. How to navigate the system properly. So that's probably a better way to say that. So.
You got it.
Politically correct.
Every now and then.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I'm not aware of anybody. Now I know that FEMA has put on some hazard mitigation seminars at like Lowe's and Home Depot for homeowners on how to future-proof and hazard mitigate your home for the next one. So FEMA in that aspect has been very proactive in doing some of that stuff. But that's more for individual homeowners, how to better mitigate your home for the next
Sure.
disaster. But at least they are providing that service, and I know they've sent that out quite through their external affairs, and they list the dates and times, and they've done a few in Aransas Pass at the Lowe's and some places like that, and at the Home Depot and Corpus. So they are doing that. And as we get that with our public information officer, that is information we try to turn around and get it
Sure.
out locally here. So you're all aware of it, whether you partake in it or not, it's up to you. But one of our jobs is to try to give you information as we see it as well. And after that, it's sort of on y'all whether you want to go do it or not. But,
Right.
Yes, sir. This could be a world record.
Next meeting, 7 o'clock.
I will stay here and answer any questions you can think of. But if not, I mean, I'll certainly will thank you for coming and appreciate good questions. I would encourage you to go back to the folks in your community or your field of influence and tell them what you learned here tonight. We're probably gonna go back and reassess whether we need to continue to do this. We did them every month for a little while, and then we kind of went to every other month and gauged on this. Maybe everyone's questions are answered or they're satisfied, or we're never gonna convince them anyway. We'll continue strategic communications and messaging through social media, through our websites, through our hotline. That number remains active. As long as there's a staff here, we'll continue to do that. So encourage folks that if they have questions, we are sort of a one source. Jen's got a rapid list of referrals for almost any topic that comes up. So if someone has a question on something, she probably has a phone number to send you to.
What's the phone number?
361-790-9496, answered Monday through Friday, 9 to 5.
And also the website.
And also the website, which is rockportfultondisasterrecovery.com. Or you can send an email to info@aransascounty.org. And so even if you call after hours and leave a voice message, we clear the voice message out every day. And so rockportfultondisasterrecovery.com. All that is a fancy link back to the county's website on our Harvey recovery page, and we'll continue to update that with information the public needs to know. And then we also share it on Facebook for you Facebookers out there. It's Aransas County Pathways to Recovery. That is a site that we own as long-term recovery, and we post a lot of things there, informational. And then we also still have the Aransas County Facebook page as well. And for those of you that are Twitter junkies, it's ACTX. So it's the Aransas County, Texas Twitter site, so it's @ACTX.gov, I think is the Twitter site. But all that, so whatever information goes on the website goes on those social media sites too, so it's all the same. And so if you own a site or you're a rapid blogger, if you see stuff on our sites that you think is of use to the community, take it and share it. It's there for y'all to spread the information. And then we still use the old school newspaper and
Which
the
has a
local media.
website
So.
and a Facebook page.
That's right. And I would say this whether Mike was here or not, the Rockport Pilot has been a very good partner with us. They have gotten information out for us. We've been very appreciative of what they've done. He's done a lot of pro bono advertising for us to get our message out and so
Sure.
to the community. We thank him for that. So
And it is. It is.
he's just gonna dedicate his book to me, that's all.
Actually, it's gonna be your face in the eye of the
It better not be.
With the arrow, the storm.
You're planning on not selling a lot of books apparently. So, but yeah, so we'll continue to partner with anybody. Whether we'll do another one of these or not, we'll probably go back and evaluate that.
Okay.
And it's whether it's just we think the need is still there or not. I don't like keeping these guys here. They work, they work all week, obviously after hours, and a lot of them have given up some time on some weekends, and I need to give them a break too. We're 10 months into it. I don't think hardly any of them have taken any vacation or taken some time off, and I need to get them rested.
I think it'd be a good idea to do something with all the junk that everybody's, different people doing different things on the anniversary. That's what I'm hoping the book will be done, but if you have some kind of a town hall deal like that and really promote it.
Yeah, we may do something,
Let's show
because
you where we were
Yeah.
and where we're at.
there is an actual anniversary committee in the community that's been formed to coordinate the events for the anniversary of Harvey. There'll be looking at some of the groups that wanna do stuff already, we'll coordinate that, we'll probably add some events to kind of, you know, not celebrate that day, but, and not
Yeah,
relive that day,
celebrate it.
but, you know, to be aware of
It's
it.
information.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get some information out, and like I said, if we, through social media and through our strategic comms, if we feel like the message isn't getting out, then we'll fire up another town hall and invite everybody to come, and, like I said, I can't force you to come, but if you wanna complain that you're not getting information, I'm gonna challenge you and say, because we also recorded this, like we have all the other ones, and we post that on our website, so if you weren't here tonight, you can go back and watch it and hear the questions and hear the answers. And we still have always come back with the questions, right, Kim? The questions that were asked tonight, we will type those up with the answers and we'll post it on our website too, so other people can read it as well, so we're trying to keep you all informed. Stay on
All
track.
right.
I'll make the first move.
All right. Thanks so much.
It is over.
Yeah, we're done, so.